Next up, though, we've got Alwin Wong from CAPSL. He's going to be talking about how Grassroots organisers are fueling mobile esports. So I don't know if Alwin is here. There he is, coming in now. Hi, Alwin. How are you? No, it's just connecting the audio. It always takes a second.
Oh,
there we go.
Yeah, there we go. Cool. Let me just share screen.
Yeah, no worries. Well, yeah, it looks like you're ready to go. So, yeah, if you're ready to chat, I'll leave you to it. But as long as you're all right, feeling good.
Yeah. Hi everyone.
Great.
And if you're on the other side of the earth, good morning. Cool. So just gonna begin. So I'm Alwin from CAPSL, and today I'm going to talk about how grassroots organizers are fueling mobile esports. I just tuned in like 5 minutes ago, and I heard a little bit about what Mo was saying about whoever can dominate mobile would be the next generation of esports, and I completely agree with that because that's exactly what CAPSL is doing with Bash. So going to my speech, what's fueling mobile esports is actually grassroots tournaments. And our product, Bash, is the world's first mobile-only esports tournament platform. And I'm going to talk about how Bash could help developers, brands, influencers reach half a billion esports fans via grassroots tournaments. So a little bit about me. This is my 10th year in mobile gaming. I've been in business development, doing live ops, doing marketing. Small fun fact is that I'm a legendary ranked Call of Duty mobile player. So let's first talk about the esports market, right? I'm sure a lot of you already know there's 500 million esports fans out there. Majority of them are very, very young. They're Gen Zs between ages 15 to 25. And these young players, they're unlike traditional sports. They don't consume content on TV. 2/3 of them actually consume on streaming platforms like Twitch, Mixer, Douyu, Huya, YouTube, Facebook Gaming, right? And these fans actually consume 30% more content on a weekly basis than average sports fans. In numbers, that's roughly an hour more on a weekly basis. And this is why we are starting to see mainstream TVs adopting into esports. For example, why ESPN has esports channels streaming like NBA 2K League games. This is why NASCAR has done an iRacing campaign with over 1.2 million concurrent viewers on TV, right? And that's the whole market of esports, including console and PC. What about mobile, right? Mobile esports is a complete different beast, and it's actually growing at a tremendous speed. The growth is actually led by Southeast Asia. They had the largest year-over-year growth at 17.4% for the past 3 years. They're slightly higher than China's prime, which was 15%. For the rest of the world, it's actually just 13.3%. And of which $4 billion was the gaming revenue of Southeast Asia in 2019. And actually 70% of that, which is 3 billion, it came from mobile. So we can obviously tell that mobile, it's the biggest thing for all of Southeast Asia. And the revenue that came from these games are actually very different as well. For example, I don't think anyone would argue in the mobile space that the biggest battle royale game on mobile was Call of Duty when they reported that they had over 100 million installs in 2019. However, the Southeast Asia's biggest battle royale game, Free Fire, they just reported they had 80 million DAU. That's completely just a total different level in terms of user base, and competitiveness in such a market. So with a massive market of competitive mobile gamers, right? Where is the opportunity? Where do people make money from, right? How is this market lucrative? Still, it's just like rest of the esports space, sponsorship is still the biggest revenue stream, right? And it accounts for roughly 60% of all income generated in esports, according to Newzoo. Brands certainly don't want to miss out any opportunity to capture these young age group. when you can see that 655 million was spent sponsoring pro tournaments in 2019. And I have to agree, this is money well spent. MasterCard sponsorship for Worlds is a very, very good example. Worlds generated a peak concurrent views of 44 million, right? While during the same year, the NBA Finals generated 20.5 million concurrent views. And I'm pretty sure the price to sponsor NBA is much, much higher than sponsoring Worlds, right? So obviously, brands are very, very interested, right? However, that being said, not everyone has that kind of budget to sponsor Worlds, right? So what can smaller brands do, and how should they do it? So apparently there's actually a sea of underserved community level tournaments, which are collectively engaging. And also they have a huge number of esports fans participating in. And brands are actually missing a cost-effective opportunity to grow deep brand awareness with these young generations at an early stage. And they can engage them at a higher frequency with a lower cost due to grassroots tournaments. If we're borrowing the same situation, just like if you consider looking at influencer campaigns, a couple of years ago, many people went for the largest celebrity influencer. And now a lot of brands are steering towards using a dozen of micro influencers instead of just one. And the same should be for our mobile esports sponsorship. However, creating esports tournaments is far more complex than creating just a social media post. Often organizers spend 90% of their time doing preparation work for a tournament and miss out on opportunities to monetize their tournaments. That's because a lot of them are still using traditional tools such as Microsoft Excel, such as pen and paper to facilitate their tournaments. And this is why we exist. So Bash, we focus on helping resolving these problems by number one, simplifying the tournament creation process. Compared to our competitors, we're 60% more effective at publishing tournaments. Bash aims to be the one platform that supports multiple titles and multiple esports fans, multi-million of esports fans, correct me. And we're also trying to help brands reach and activate these high disposable income groups of Gen Zs. Our ultimate goal is to help ignite the next generation of esports athletes. So with Bash, players can now participate in more tournaments when they're 60% more effective than using any of our competitor platforms. Organizers can now create premium mobile esports tournaments with just their mobile phones in one platform. So they do not need to sit in front of a computer the whole day trying to play a tournament that's played on the phone. And streamers, they can provide new streaming content with a much deeper engagement by introducing tournaments to play with their fans. And with Bash, brands can now reach millions of gaming fans that have high disposable income. They can engage with their target audience more frequently at a lower cost and be able to echo with their potential target audience through mobile esports tournaments. And again, organizers can now, they can publish premium tournaments much more effectively and frequently so that they can focus on other important things, such as growing their community and also monetizing their tournaments via sponsorship through Bash. So, now that I've kind of introduced ourselves, I want to talk about, what do we have done? We've soft launched Bash recently, and to date, we have 250 plus tournament organizers that have signed up. Each tournament organizer will have their own community and fans, and that accumulates to 12 million esports fans. We held around, held over 100 tournaments during soft launch, and we have over 400 matches played. And this is a sneak peek We're very, very excited to announce that we're partnering up with one of the biggest esports game developer and publisher in the world, who has recently ventured into mobile space after spending 10 years on PC. We're going to introduce a series of tournaments of their latest TCG mobile title on Bash. More announcement about this partnership will be available soon. I can't make any announcement, official announcement just yet. So this is at best what it is. So you feel free to guess. And when talking about the future of mobile esports or esports in general, right? We know for a fact that mobile esports will only continue to grow. This is largely driven by the growth of global mobile adoption. And we're very, very excited to be a part of this amazing growth, helping to ignite the next generation of esports athletes. And this is my short sharing session for today. Calling out to any brands, developers, pro team streamers, or even esports agencies. If you have any interest in mobile esports, do reach out to me. And that's it. I'm happy to take any questions that anyone has.
Hi, Alwin. Yeah, really, really great talk. And at the moment, we're just saying to everyone, like you say, throw some questions into the Q&A if you've got any questions. Sometimes people can be a little bit shy to get started, but obviously we've got like the Discord sections and everything else like that. So yeah, definitely throw in your questions if you've got any. Otherwise, no, it was a really great chat. And I think we're really exploring at the moment how the esports is really just helping us not just grow gaming, but like you say, especially with things like getting brands involved and everything else like that. I think it's just taking gaming up to that next stage. I think it's, really, we see in movies all the time about deals with brands and everything else like that. And sometimes we kind of miss that in gaming. So I think that's really important to everyone.
Yeah, I totally agree. We've discussed with a bunch of brands, right? And most of them are like, yes, I'm very interested to do something in esports. I just don't know how. So we aim to help lower that entry barrier, because we understand that most people who are actually working in brands, they're not gamers.
Yeah, exactly. We've actually got some questions coming in now, which
Cool.
I think kind of are along similar lines. But so one of our attendees is just, I think obviously because we were talking about the brands, is saying, what's the biggest challenge in working with brands?
Right. I think the biggest challenge is like the basic concept is different. So it's much like my personal experience when I first started working in gaming, right? And all my families and friends, they don't even play games on their phones. And they'd be like, what do you do in gaming, right? Like, what is that actually like? And sometimes brands come in and be like, so what do I do? What do I get out of, sponsoring a tournament? And sometimes I understand it's actually very tough if you are, for example, say sponsoring a streamer and put like an icon on their stream, and how does that convert, right? And it's really, really hard to be tracked. We understand that, and so that's why with Bash, we all the places that are possible for conversion will be trackable. We aim to help resolve these kind of issues.
Yeah, I think that's I mean, I suppose it's like a converging of two different worlds, isn't it? We have a certain way of doing things in the gaming industry, and they're not used to that. But it's about sort of trying to find that middle line and get everyone onto the same page.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty much like how you said it.
Yeah. So Veli Peck is asking, he says, hello, Alwin, nice to meet you again. When we spoke last time, you said Bash is available only in Southeast Asia. Is it now available in more regions or worldwide?
Right. Hello, Veli again. And, right now we're still pretty much only in Southeast Asia at this moment. That's because, like I said earlier, it's the market with the biggest growth. And we want to capitalize on that. And I understand that, North American and European regions, they're very, very involved in esports, and a lot of opportunities and brand opportunities are there. However, players are, I would say, less attracted to mobile esports. Even like maybe 1 to 2 years ago, some even looked down on mobile esports, right? They're like, oh, mobile esports is going nowhere. Supercell was the only company driving it. Going to now, 2 years later, actually is very, very different, right? And so we're definitely looking into expanding into different regions, but at this very moment, maybe for the rest of 2020 at least, we'll probably stay in Southeast Asia and Greater China regions.
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, that's really interesting, and hopefully we'll be able to see things spread. But you're right, Southeast Asia does have a key area of growth at the moment, and we're seeing that through the talks, and I've seen that just from being there myself.
Yeah, I mean, I think close to 70% of gaming revenue came from Greater China and Southeast Asia. So that's that's just how that's just where the market is right now.
Yeah. So is there another question? We've got a few questions now. I told you, they always get going eventually. What are the main differences between PC, console and mobile esports, especially in terms of the work you're doing?
Right, accessibility, right? So yeah. I think in console and PC, I would call it quote unquote premium esports. That's where like everyone has the budget to spend on like a $2,000 PC setup, right? Or something, or at least like a console and a TV, right? In mobile, all you get is your phone, right? Oh, sorry, you can't see my phone, but but a majority of our users, especially in Southeast Asia region, they're using like budget phones, and they're playing these tournaments that could help them potentially win more cash, or actually win like a smartphone that they can get an upgrade their new smartphone for continue to proceed their esport career. And that drive is actually what drives the market. We feel that because people are kind of driven to become better because they wanted to, they're hungry for success. Not saying people in PC and console are not hungry for success, but we see that that's the biggest difference between PC and mobile.
Yeah. Okay. That's really interesting. I mean, so it's sort of saying on similar lines, but sort of alternate at the same time, is talking about growth in esports, and especially with regions and everything else like that. If one person's asked what has to happen in mobile esports, we talk about accessibility and how it's accessible to all, but what has to happen in mobile esports before it becomes mainstream? I mean, and do you think that mobile is the future of esports in general?
Right. I think I kind of said the same, that I feel that mobile is going to be the future. It may or may not be the mainstream, but it's definitely not a market to be neglected for esports at least. And what has to happen? I kind of feel that it's just like brand adoption, because and I think this will happen because on PC and console, there's only so many tournaments and titles that's going on. It takes maybe 3, 5, 10 years to develop a really, really good console title. But for mobile, a lot of times it's like 1 to 3 years, right? So you would continuously see great titles coming up, and people moving from one title to one title, and due to more titles coming into the market, there's a higher chance that one of them just hit and go super viral, and everyone will start competing and playing in tournaments. As well, I think providing a tournament structure is equally important. So I think like PC and console are very, very well driven by companies like ESL, DreamHack, that they have a strong esports scene. For mobile, we don't see a lot of that currently. ESL is doing some mobile esports tournaments, but right now at this moment for mobile, a lot of that is driven by like the developers themselves. For example, like Tencent, Bluehole, they're running their own esports league, right? There's not much of a third-party esports league going on, that can help drive the whole environment, the whole economy.
Yeah, oh, that's really good. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think you raised some good points there. And just to try and get through the last two questions, I think, before, we run out of time, is how should mobile developers view and engage with esports? Is it possible to create a new esport, if you've got a new developer?
Right. I think it's definitely possible. And I think like even without the word quote unquote esports, a lot of mobile games are doing that already. Any game that has a ladder system, that has a competitive system, I think that's already a form of esports without putting that, the name on top of it. I just feel that, like I was saying on the previous question, like a detailed structure of how to compete is needed to facilitate that. And I think, that's kind of why Bash exists, because we provide that tournament structure.
Yeah, okay. And one of the questions that we've got here is, which is kind of connected to what we were talking about before with like companies and, brands and everything else like that, is when and how will big money come into esports? This person thinks it still feels comparatively smaller compared to the industry as a whole.
Yes, it's small. That's I'm not going to argue about that. It's definitely small. But the thing is the frequency. So I think it's a different approach, and that's exactly what's happening in mobile esports. So and that's why we exist, because like I was saying in my presentation, not many brands have that kind of money to go all in on one championship, right? There's actually a ton of other brands that are trying to get into esports. They have, a smaller budget. They want to sponsor some tournament, right? And they don't know how to do it. So this is exactly why we exist, because we are connected to, 250 different communities already. And that's just in the Southeast Asia. We're not even talking about the rest of the world. And brands can already reach out to these, Gen Z players through us, right? Or, by all means, if you can reach out to different communities yourself, do that, right? Because being able to run like smaller campaigns and be able to try and have different experience with different groups will be the key for key brand adoption. I don't think it's entirely possible to like just wake up the next day and hear about like $10 million mobile game tournament. I just don't think that's realistic, unless we do Fortnite, right? Which, I mean, there's only one Fortnite in the world.
Yeah, definitely. There was one other question actually that I missed because it was placed into the chat rather than the Q&A. But Alyosha has asked, are there also performance channels for music and other similar things on the platform?
Interesting. So we support streaming. I guess the easiest way to say it, you can consider us like a hub for streaming, because we support basically we support like a stream link where all of our organizers, if they are hosting a tournament, they will be able to stream on the platform of their choice. And you will basically be able to see it in one app. So even, for example, say if you're just watching one tournament where Sophia and I are streaming on different channels, and viewers come in and they'd be like, oh, Alwin is streaming on Mixer. I want to see what's he doing, right? And you can see my screen. And then like a few minutes later, you'll be, oh, I want to see what Sophia is doing. And I tap on Sophia and say, Sophia, you're streaming on Twitch. The screen will immediately change to your stream. So you can consider us as a hub, a platform for streaming media as well. And we kind of think that it helps with the players instead of having to, I need to log in multiple platforms, or if you're on the phone, different apps to just watch different, players that you like.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. There you go. Alyosha said, cool. So, thank you there from the chat. So, but thank you so much. And thank you for sticking around for the Q&A session as well. That was, really interesting. And thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you for
your
letting me speak.
No, thank you. I think esports is such a fascinating area. And I think the more and more we have, and especially platforms like yourself, just helps create that critical mass to bring more and more people into esports and enjoying it.
Yeah, yeah, it's fascinating. I hope I'll be able to share again sometime in the future about, how
Definitely.
enthusiastic about, the players are in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much.
Cool.
And I
Thank
hope
you.
you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for watching.
No, thank you so much.